Kirby Smart said a lot at media days that need attention because y'all pray.
Urbanese.
Kirbanese is there. We're going to educate you, and pray is not something that we are. We're going to talk about what Kirbanese is right after this.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, guys? I am Daniel. He is Clint. This is the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. Thanks for being here. Thanks for jumping on and listening today. If you're listening on audio, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and review on there. We appreciate it quite a bit. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, comment, give us a thumbs up. All that stuff is welcomed. Happy Tuesday to you. We are back. We are once again talking about media days, which were last week. Clint, we are getting so close.
Oh my
to
gosh,
fall
Daniel.
camp. We are getting so close to football. Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Yes, Daniel.
Yeah.
Definitively and 100% yes, I could feel it. Media days is a good sign. It's like Flag Day. It's the lesser known holiday, but it still gives you a little festive feel. You know, things are starting to matriculate.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Flag Day didn't move the needle one bit.
I'm not, but it lets you know festivals are on the way, Daniel. That's all it does. Okay.
All right. Well, I look forward to some festivals this fall in Athens town. Can't wait for that. We're going to talk about some things that Kirby Smart said.
Yep.
We're not even going to have time to get to some things that. Listen, Nolan Smith was coming in hot on the mic. Okay,
my.
You understand? Cedric Van Pran. You called him SVP on yesterday's podcast, which somebody needs to get him those glasses.
Oh, please
somebody
make that
find
happen.
him a little pair of those. Somebody at least make that meme, something.
Yes.
Him and the glasses, SVP. We're not going to talk about them today. We might get to them at a later time. We're going to talk about some things that Kirby said at Media Day. It wasn't all about NIL as much as the national media would have you believe it is. He said some very interesting things about this Georgia team.
Yes.
He said some very interesting things about some specific players, Clint.
Yep.
One freshman in particular. He talked, and I started to stand up at wherever I was. And then if you hang around till the third segment, we might give you a bonus quote from non-Kirby source.
But it has to do with Kirby, and I think it's fascinating that this quote was made.
Stay tuned for that. But let's start here. There was a theme. I think that we've been studying Kirbanese for quite some time. By the way, Kirbanese is the language that Kirby Smart uses in press conferences to both divulge the information he wants to divulge.
Point one.
And then confuse you if you're not really paying attention.
Yes.
It's both a clear, simple, straightforward language.
Yep.
And yet a language that if you're not careful, it can lead you this way and that way. And that's exactly what Kirby Smart wants. He wants you chasing your tail while he goes out and wins championships. And so that's what he gets. We've been studying Kirbanese for some time now. I'm going to develop a hypothesis here, Clint, on this podcast. I'm going to workshop it today.
Ooh, okay.
I think you can tell what kinds of TV shows Kirby Smart's been watching based on his press conferences.
Oh, I don't hate this.
Okay, so I'm going to speculate that Kirby Smart has been watching a lot of nature documentaries. Have you noticed that there are a lot of these out there? There's like The Earth at Night. There's like The Earth Underwater.
Yep.
There's all these. It started with Planet Earth like 15 years ago, and it has just grown and grown and grown. Netflix has got 20,000 of them.
Apple's got that new one out there, all the dinosaurs and all the prehistoric things.
Apple's got that one. All sorts of people narrating all kinds of these documentaries are out there. I think Kirby's been binging a lot of these documentaries because he's got two quotes that we're going to talk about, and they're very related. We'll start with the hunter and the hunted. Kirby Smart, he refuses to accept two narratives. Number one is that Georgia is the defending college football national champions. He won't have it. There's no defense. It's ours. You cannot take it from us.
You can't take it. And guess what? 2022 called. It's a new season.
It's a new season. He's not listening to it.
Nope.
The second narrative that he will not stand for is that Georgia is now on top of college football and therefore is, quote unquote, going to get everybody's best shot. Quote unquote is going to be the biggest game on everyone's schedule, blah, 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 blah. Kirby Smart took one whiff of that at Media Day, Clint, and he said, let me tell you something about Georgia. We're not going to be hunted at Georgia. That's not going to happen. We're going to come out and hunt you at Georgia. We are the hunter. We are the predator. We are not the prey. Let me ask you this, Clint. What does it really mean? It's an interesting soundbite. It's an interesting quote. But what does that really mean for this Kirby Smart-led Georgia team going into the 2022 season?
Here's what it means. Daniel, there's this, what is it? The Mob story. What's that? What movie? A young Robert De Niro's in it or something like that. Anyway, there's these bikers that come into a bar and it's owned by the mob, and they think they're going to wreck the place. They're going to do it. And like, hey, we're just here for some beers. And they grab the beers and they spray it on the bartender, and they turn around to the mob boss and he's like, what are y'all doing? And he goes, hey, this is our bar now, whatever. And before he was going to kick him out. And then he walks over to the door and he locks it. And he turns back to the bikers and he says, now you can't leave. And all of a sudden, it's one guy versus 8. And they're like, what? Now, you? And all of a sudden, all his buddies come rushing out the back and just wreak havoc on all these bikers as they're in the bar. That's Kirby's mentality. And what he means by this is to say, I've always gotten everybody's best shot, sure, but that's not the thing you should be concerned about. Your concern should not be, can you give me the best shot? Your concern is, can you take my best shot? Because guess what? Every single week, we coming for you. I don't care if you're Vanderbilt. I don't care if you're Bama. I don't care if you're Clemson. Kirby, honestly, and he truly means he does not care who lines up across, because in his mind, it's enemy. And that's all he needs to know. The lion is not concerned with what type of prey. All it knows is, I need to eat. And guess what? You're in front of me and I am hungry, which we'll get to in a moment here.
Yeah. Now, back to the nature documentaries, I think that's exactly right. It's not a matter of it's not a matter of, can we take your best shot? It's a matter of who's walking out of here and who's being dragged out of here. That at the end of the day, one of us is going to be standing and one of us is not. And Kirby said, we're not going to wait around to see what you want to do about that. And listen, if you need some proof of that, let me refer you back to Georgia's schedule last year. Do you recall the Georgia Tech game?
Oh, yes, sir.
An absolute beatdown. Do you recall the Vanderbilt game? Do you recall the first quarter of the Vanderbilt game?
Oh, I do.
Lad McConkey did some things to some people that have since been banned, have since been outlawed.
32 states have said no more can that go on YouTube.
Have said, not today, lad, not today. When Georgia has played these lesser opponents under Kirby Smart, especially lately under Kirby Smart, they've had this mindset instilled in them. You've heard him say it 100 times, and you kind of just laugh and say, like, oh, coach speak or whatever. But Kirby really believes the scoreboard's 0-0. You don't play the opponent. You play football. You play Georgia football. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. It doesn't matter what stadium you're in. You go out and play Georgia football. And these days, it's been really hard to stop Georgia football. Okay, gone are the days of Vanderbilt sneaking up and catching Georgia. Those days are over. Gone are the days of Georgia absolutely laying an egg in a meaningless, some seemingly easy game that they have. That's what it means to come out with a hunter mentality. And so you love to hear it, but more than hear it, I love that I've seen it at Georgia these last few years.
It just reminds like end of John Wick 2 or something like that. John Wick it blows everything, and he looks at the guy who's telling him, "Hey, John, like you're on your own. You got to go out there." And John Wick looks at him and goes, "You tell him, Winston. You tell everybody that's coming after me, I'm gonna kill him." And Winston goes, "I know." That's what Kirby is saying to the rest. Like, you can come at me, but it's gonna be bad for you. We're gonna come back after this, and we're gonna let you know a little bit more of what Kirby said. Another nature documentary is out there, but first, I want to let you know about Built Bar. Built Bar is the tastiest protein bar on planet Earth. How do we know? Because we've tried them. Daniel, I got some more in the box, and my goodness, Daniel, they are so delicious. They got these cookies and cookie dough, and they taste like a candy bar. Everybody, it's a candy bar, but it's good for you. And we're not just saying that. Okay, like legitimately, it's delicious. It's high in protein. It's high in fiber. It is low in sugar, and yet it tastes better than any candy bar that I can put in my mouth. It's delicious. On the go, pre-workout, post-workout, during workout, everything you need in a protein bar. It's going to be your go-to protein bar. I guarantee you it's our go-to. We've tried them all. Head over right now to BuiltBar.com. Put in the promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off your entire order. That's BuiltBar.com. Put in the promo code LOCKEDON15, whether it's 1 box, 5 boxes, 10 boxes, whatever it is, you get 15% off your entire order right now with the best tasting protein bar on planet Earth, BuiltBar.com, promo code LOCKEDON15.
All right, Clint, back to Media Day, and the second telling quote, I think, from Kirby Smart, the second nature documentary quote, was when he was asked to describe this team. He's asked if anything stands out as a defining characteristic of this team.
Hold on, let me.
Kirby Smart did not hesitate.
Nope.
He came loaded with this word. He came with it in the chamber. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? He said, hungry. This team, if you had to describe them in one word, is hungry.
Yep.
He came out before the questions were asked, and he said, I dare you to ask me about complacency on this team. I dare you to ask a question about whether or not this team is going to be resting or complacent or lazy or satisfied. Go ahead. Please ask me that question. Nobody dared to ask him that question, but they did ask what defines this team. And he went right back to the well and he said, hungry. Clint, what stands out to you about a hungry 2022 Georgia football team?
Okay, Kirby is 101. This is very, very interesting. Kirby is not going to blow smoke. Now, he's going to tell you what he wants you to know, but he is not blowing smoke. There's a difference between kind of like parable narrative where he's going to say, hey, we need to go west, and all of a sudden he turns east and start walking. You're like, what is happening? I thought he's telling me to walk this way. And I'm confused now. He wants to confuse you at the same time, but he's telling you exactly what he means. And when he says hungry, he is not trying to motivate anybody. Let me tell you, this is not like manifest it into existence. Kirby don't believe that. He's not saying, well, if I go out there on SEC Media Days and I say they're hungry, then they're going to get hungry. No, because we've seen Kirby talk about this team when they're not hungry. And guess what he comes to the podium saying? We didn't want it today. We weren't the better team. We're not prepared. He said that many, many times last year, talking about this incredible team that we had, talking about the offense, not where it should have been, talking about Stetson. Hey, he needs to step up. He needs to do his thing.
He's not a real fan if he criticizes the team.
That's true.
So it's, to be fair, if he criticizes the team, he's not a real fan. So
So that's what you need to understand. He's not blowing smoke. Second thing you need to understand about Hungary, he is giving you observations from this team of exactly the type of leadership they are given. And their mentality so far is he has given them the mentality before. They have bought into, we're not defending champs. We're not the hunted. We're the hunters. And if you want to go eat, then go eat. That they have bought in. So it's observationally, yes. And he's not blowing smoke to try to motivate. That's not it at all.
Yeah, those are fantastic points. Kirby doesn't say nice things if the nice things aren't true. Period. Kirby will say not nice things about players if he's trying to motivate them. Okay? So if somebody wants to do nothing but praise a certain player, Kirby will be quick to come out and talk about the things that player needs to work on, the areas that player needs to grow. If he wants to motivate that player, doesn't want them to read it. But when Kirby Smart comes out and says good things about the program, if you're a Georgia opponent in 2022, you should be going, oh no, this isn't good. No, this is not what you want, because Kirby doesn't come out and say those things. And I think the larger point in this is it seems like Kirby has been able to do something that is both seemingly impossible and yet genius. He has somehow made the reigning national champions feel like not just lip service, but actually believe that they've done nothing in their college football careers so far. Like, he has somehow told them that even though you have a ring, even though you were on the field, even though you were a starter on the field and have a ring, no one's giving you any credit for those games. When Kirby was sitting there in April and guy after guy was getting drafted, and they were just coming off the board left and right, and the next guy gets drafted, and the next guy gets drafted, you can almost envision Kirby hatching this plot in his head and saying, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm not only going to use this record-setting NFL draft to recruit new players to come to Georgia, which he's done, by the way, less commits than any other school and the number 3 class in the nation. Kirby can't recruit. It's over in Athens. Does Kirby have a recruiting problem in Athens? Question mark. Please click on my video. Please click on my video. Please click on my video. No, he doesn't. Not only does Kirby use that NFL draft to recruit people, he also used that NFL draft to say, all those guys, people think all those guys won the national championship. People think Nakobe Dean won the national championship. Channing Tindall, Quay Walker. People think Devontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis won the national championship. People think James Cook and Zamir White, George Pickens won the national championship. All of those guys are the guys that won the national championship. And somehow Brock Bowers and Jalen Carter and Keely Ringo and Cedric Van Pran, guys who started every game last year, somehow those guys have been convinced by Kirby in the absolute most evil genius move of all time that they haven't done anything, and that if they want a national championship that they get credit for, they have to go do it again this year. It's unbelievable. And again, if you're one of Georgia's opponents in 2022, T's and P's to you, because this Georgia team is not happy to have won the national championship. They're back with a lot of the same players, and yet they are hungry for something even more.
Oh, see, that's so it's wild. I know the team hasn't repeated in eons, but y'all, We got
Yeah.
talent coming back, and we got the
Well,
coaches coming back.
Alabama won back-to-back college football playoff national championships, didn't they?
Never heard that before.
They must have.
They had to have it.
Nick
Right?
Saban is the best coach of all time, so they must
Of
have.
all time.
They must have done it.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Hey, we're going to come back after this, and I'm going to give you a little inside information to one quote by another SEC coach that gives me information of who Kirby is, and it's kind of interesting to me and should be interesting to you right after this. Daniel,
Another coach, you said?
I heard something very interesting from another coach.
I like interesting things.
I love interesting things. Here's the interesting thing that I heard. I heard a coach. Now, he's not the best coach. He's kind of a. I mean, if we're being
Is he the
honest,
worst coach?
He's not the worst coach. Daniel,
okay.
He's definitively not the worst coach. But Lane Kiffin made a comment at SEC Media Days. Okay,
I really thought you were going to say Clark Lee because we still have not talked about. Guys, you thought I was making it up last time. Clark Lee doubled down.
Yes.
He said it again. I can't make this stuff up.
The guy literally
Clark Lee
thinks
is mentally unstable.
Or he's as delusional as Mr. Ohio. One of the two.
Please click on my tweet. Please click on my tweet. Please click on my tweet.
Could you imagine being that needy? Oh gosh. Okay. Here's what Lane Kiffin said, and it makes me believe something. He talked about Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart. The name Kirby came out of his mouth. SEC media. He could have talked about anything else. Daniel, he could have talked about Ole Miss. He could have talked about offense. He could have talked about the loss to Alabama.
You mean his team?
His team?
His team? Oh, interesting.
Now, if you remember,
Kirby Smart.
No. If you remember before, Lane Kiffin has been on record of talking about the text thread of all the assistant coaches. He loves it.
Lane Kiffin does not want you to forget that one time he was at Alabama and they did win a championship. He does not want you to forget that.
By the way, one of Lane Kiffin's best all-time dunks in the entire world was, I forget what game it was, he called the perfect play, dialed it up, and as the ball is hiked, Lane Kiffin starts raising his arms and running down the sideline because he knows it's a touchdown, and it's really, really wild. But Lane Kiffin said something about, he used Kirby Smart's name in the presser, and here's what I believe. I believe from this time, from that quote, from talking about Kirby, I really think Lane and Kirby are good friends together. Daniel, I think they exchange more than Christmas cards. I think they talk on a different text thread other than the group of assistants from Alabama. I think, and it's really interesting to me for a number of reasons. One, it's just fascinating because Lane Kiffin is like the anti-Kirby. If I could think of a coach in America that's anti-Kirby, it's Lane Kiffin.
It's Dan Mullen, but it's. Oh, sorry. He's still. You meant anti-Kirby in personality, not in being good at their job.
That's what I meant, Daniel.
Yes. I see. I was confused.
I know it's hard. Sometimes it's hard, Daniel. Mm-hmm. But this is fascinating for a number of reasons. One, it gives us a little bit more insight into the personhood of Kirby. He's kind of a little jovial. He's a little sarcastic, little smarmy, which is fun to watch. Secondly, I think Kirby understands also to keep contact with these people, because if you don't think Lane Kiffin's going to go ahead and give some insight to football and recruiting and offense, and he's going to get loose-lipped with some things, then I have no clue what to help you with. Kirby Smart is hoping that in the text, Lane slips up and says something to him, and Kirby's going to pounce all over it.
Listen, give me even money odds.
Okay.
Nah, even money would be silly.
That's silly.
But I'll take it. Give me even money odds that at one point in his life, Lane Kiffin is an assistant coach for Kirby Smart.
Ooh, you know
what? Give me
what?
even money odds. I'll take it.
I'd take that right now, because
that might be coming down the pipe. And after
Lane Kiffin has had 3 shots, right? Head coaching gig.
He gonna fail. Listen, they're not going to finish in the top 3 in the West this year. Period. Don't care what you think about it. Not interested. They're not better than Alabama. They're not better than Texas A&M, and they're probably not going to be better than LSU. They're definitely better than Auburn, because Vanderbilt probably is better than Auburn. But listen, they're not finishing in the top 3 in the West. And then Texas and Oklahoma are going to come over. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's going to get fired from Ole Miss.
100%.
And when that day comes, look, maybe he takes a little offensive advisor role, maybe just a little consulting role in Athens.
And you know what, Daniel, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't hate it.
No, you wouldn't hate it. You
I wouldn't
love
hate
it.
it. I would
Because
love
look,
it. You're
Kirby's
right.
in control. Kirby's got things the way that he wants them. It's just like the Nick Saban situation. You know, they would yell at each other on the sidelines and it'd be fun to watch, but then they would win games. And Kirby would bash him in the media but then they would win games. It'd be fantastic. I love it. I love every second of it.
I just find it fascinating that Lane Kiffin and Kirby are friends. It blows my mind a little bit.
All right. That's it for today, the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. As we mentioned a moment ago, Georgia can't recruit anyone. Kirby cannot be trusted. There's been wholesale recruiting breakdowns at the University of Georgia. And so if you want to know more about why none of the things that I just said are true, you can join us tomorrow. John Garcia will be on, and we'll be talking about recruiting at the University of Georgia. And we'll see you guys then.
See ya.